Time to get flexible and mount. Well, mount this rack, that is, this Fleximount rack. You guys remember I had the little storage across the side wall there? Well, because of that barnwood, I had to make room and build more racks there because it was the longest wall I had. Well, now I find a place to put some of my lighter work and my lighter stuff. So I'm gonna put a rack right here, but instead of making it out of wood, thought I'd lighten it up a little bit, and I found a good deal on this Fleximount ceiling storage system. So we'll put this together and see what it looks like. Hold tight.
So the model we're going to be installing today is a GR48. It's a 4-foot by 8-foot rack, and the nice thing about this Fleximount system is it has up to a 40-inch length from the ceiling. So that's a lot of space, but I don't have that much. I've only got about 11.5 inches, so I had to modify this thing considerably. I did use a string to confirm that my 11.5 wasn't going to interfere with the handle. So let's go ahead and get this thing sort of taken out of the box, check it out, make sure all my parts are there, and we'll start installing it. This system is amazing if you've got a lot of clearance from your ceiling down to the top of your door. In my case, it's still going to be a great rack because, I cut my brackets down like any good maker would do. So I got my brackets all cut down to 11.5, and here I am assembling them all together. And these are the drop-down supports. Some are angle brackets and some are flat. But either way, they both had to be assembled together, and I had to do a little modification on one of them to really make it work for my application. Right there it is, by the way, and I'll show you more on that later. So what I'm doing here is I'm fastening the drop-down support brackets directly to the header. The reason I'm doing that is just a couple of things. One, I wanted the shelf to be tight to the wall, and the way the system is designed, there would have been a slight gap there had I mounted it differently, because my rafters are running left to right. So I kind of had no choice there. So fasten it to the header, make it tight, and it's going to give me plenty of support. And you can see here now, I'm just simply screwing the first drop-down support bracket between the two rafters. And that's going to make sure I'm spanning my weight properly and give me the support I need. So I've measured out, my 48 inches to make sure I know exactly where I need to go. And I'm also, again, spanning the two rafters. So I'm going to the middle here, working on that particular drop-down. Now, fastening that to the header really was a better idea. I'm glad I thought about that. It's one modification that's really not listed in their options, but for my setup, it was perfect. And so I've measured over 48 inches from the left side to the center, got that mounted, and measured over from the center to the right another 48 inches to complete my 8-foot span. So once I get that bracket mounted up, we'll be able to move forward and start really working on the outer edges. That's the one crucial thing that you do want to make sure of, is you are measuring right and taking your time to get it on spot. And me being Johnny on the spot, I am measuring twice and cut once. Actually, I measured about 4 times, but whatever. I had some pretty bad sheetrock issues here. That it was dipping down so far that my 2.5-inch lag bolt wouldn't even make contact with the rafter. I don't know what was going on there. Whoever installed that just missed some joists or something. So what I did was I took some 3-inch screws and had a washer over each head, and I just fastened it so that it would pull the sheetrock up a little at a time to make at least so I can make contact with the lag bolt. Which, by the way, that's one of the nice things about this system, is it had much larger lag bolts than some of the others that I looked at. I really think Fleximount took the time to make a good product, and it really did well with the parts they gave you. So now that I've got that fastened up properly, making sure I got my measurement right so I can mount my first drop down on that outer edge. And those drop down supports do need to be fairly accurate. You want to make sure they're right on, because you don't want to lift that heavy shelf up there and then you be off on your measurements. So take the time to do it right the first time, and it'll work well for you. They do include a little template in there for you to use. So here I'm just mounting the shelves together, making sure I'm getting it all assembled and tightened up on the floor before I mount it up there. I'd rather get it all snug and tight, that way I don't have to worry too much about me lifting it up and having to do things up in the air. Makes it a little easier down on the ground. And Fleximount does give you plenty of hardware, and this thing does assemble pretty easily. Everything lined up perfectly, and I just want to make sure I got everything torqued down the best I could. I really wish I worked this fast in real life. It would have been a whole snap to get this done if that's the case. But, you know, time lapse certainly makes it look quick. I think all in all I spent about maybe 3 hours assembling and installing the first time. I was originally going to try to install these in 2 different shelves, but I decided, you know what, I'm strong-willed that is. I'm going to go ahead and fasten both shelves together, and then us get them all assembled on the ground and then lift them up. This is where it gets fun, doing this by yourself. Mere mortals, they'd fail, but we're talking about me here, so I still failed, but it worked. So I got it all locked in, and those drop-down brackets have little lips, so everything kind of stayed secure. It wasn't like I just barely have them resting on the ledge. So once I got it up and in place, I went back in and then fastened all the bolts on all the corners and up next to the center. That one center on this outer edge closest to you, I had to do something a little special with that. You'll notice I don't have a ceiling bracket mounted yet. I wanted to make sure, because I had to do a little modification to that, I wanted to make sure that that bracket was mounted dead on the money, and the only way for me to do that was to wait until the shelf was up and then install that after the fact. Because I did have to use an L bracket there instead of that flat bracket because of the way I did my design. And I still wanted to make sure I was spanning the proper distance, so again, you know, better safe than sorry. I'm really glad I waited and did that center portion last. It really ensured that I got it exactly where it needed to be. Just getting everything tidied up and tightened up. I was really excited at how it looked and how it worked. Until here.
Hey, you son of a...
So if you decide to do the string test, just go ahead and add at least 1 inch to that, or just measure up near the bend, or this could happen to you. So after taking it all back down and grinding another 1 inch off of every one of the drop down supports, then reinstalling it, here we are. Job well done.
Alright, well, I got about 9 7/8 worth of clearance. Doesn't sound like a whole lot. A lot of work for so little reward. However, I think it's going to work out good. I can put some short stuff up there, some better stuff. I got some paper, rolls of plastic, as well as some of my shorter cutoffs from barnwood and other materials, sheet goods. So I'm not going to put a ton of weight up here, but it certainly will work. And based on, you know, what I'm seeing here, it appears that it will support. So don't need it, but I got it. And even though I had to do a lot of modification to it to make it work, I think it's going to serve a pretty good purpose. So anyway, Chris with Christcross Crafts, we're up here working on the Fleximount ceiling rack. Till next time.